Country Club of New Bedford has had a great tradition, which has led to its current prestigious reputation in the New England area. The club has a modest beginning which took place before the turn of the century. The original club was located in the west end of New Bedford, bordering on Hawthorne, Brigham, and Allen Streets, continuing out to Rockdale Avenue. Several enthusiasts of golf formed the club. It was called the Hawthorne Club. The 6-hole layout became so popular that the club founders decided the course was too short and crowded. They closed the course and moved to the present site. In 1923, the clubhouse burned to the ground. The present clubhouse was built over the original foundation in 1924 with several additions, alterations, and other improvements over the years. In 1924, the legendary Mike O'Grady began his 46-year career with the club. Mike was meticulous and enjoyed an excellent reputation for having the finest greens in southeastern Massachusetts. John Gilholm Sr. worked alongside Mike as a club professional from 1919 to 1958. The two became legendary figures for their dedication to the game of golf and their loyalty to the club. The original course was 9 holes until the club purchased land on the east side of Slocum Road and added an additional 6 holes. These outer 6 holes were designed by O'Grady, Mitchell, and Gilholm. Willie Park, probably the most famous golf architect at the turn of the century, had planned, designed, and supervised the building of the original 9 holes. In 1924, the renowned golf architect Donald Ross redesigned the course, changing the original 9 holes on the club side of Slocum Road into 12 holes and eventually making the Country Club of New Bedford into an 18-hole golf course. The first August Fourball Invitational Tournament was held the first week of August in 1931. The August Fourball remains one of the most prestigious amateur golf tournaments in New England. Hi, I'm Charlie Dettata of the Dartmouth Wanderers. We're out here at the New Bedford Country Club on a real nice day. I wish I could play, but we have a job to do. With me is an old friend that I knew way back, man, in high school. And I think the last time I saw you, Bill, you were playing basketball for Holy Family.
Probably.
Probably, huh?
That's a long time ago.
Well, we won't talk about that, but it's good to see you, and I'm glad we could get together. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself from high school to today?
Well, it's been a good journey. Incidentally, the high school that we're talking about is the Old Town Hall now, right? On Slocum Road.
Yes.
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 My grandkids are amazed that they could put anybody in a high school.
Well, that's right.
So small.
It's so small, and of course the classes were small. There was only about 56 in our senior class, so you know that's a good indication of the size of the classes. They got a little bit bigger as we went along, but not very much.
No, no. The basketball court was there.
The basketball court was there, yep, and you could stand around the top of it and watch it by looking down into the court. But I can remember you playing basketball, and it seemed to me that you were a pretty good basketball player.
I enjoyed it.
And Holy Family always had a good team.
Holy Family was good.
Yeah. And
they had good coaches. Jack Nobrega was there for a number of years.
And he's now, I think he's still on the school committee, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. And let's talk about you and your book. You wrote a book, History of the August Fourball from 1931 to 2005. And I have it. In fact, let's show it. This is the book. It's available, and we'll give that information at the end of the program.
Good.
How's that? Okay.
So
what we really want to do is we want to talk about this book and some of the history of the August Fourball. Of course, It was probably one of the top tournaments in Massachusetts.
It's probably one of the top tournaments in the greater New England area, and probably nationwide. They tell me, but I haven't seen the documentation, that it's the longest running, currently the longest running Fourball tournament in the United States.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It seemed to me too. I can remember it when I was a young guy. I used to sit on the wall over here, and we used to caddy.
That's correct.
I never got a good bunch of players, but that was a lot of fun. That was a great experience.
It was.
And it was a highlight of a lot of us young kids, because we were golfers and we were trying to learn. I mean, if we caddied, we also could play golf.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Well, as I was going through the development of the book, I found, I did a section on caddies, which is a wild section. Some of the stupid things that caddies were doing, like driving carts into the 17th hole,
Yes.
Stuff like that. But I found that there are a lot of members out here now who used to caddy at the country club when they were younger.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
still a good number out here now who can remember the good old days and can remember some of the things that I mentioned in the book when they read it.
Well, I remember Tony Vieira used to be the caddy master.
Tony was the caddy master. The Grimley brothers were assistant caddy masters.
How about the Finney? How about
Ed Finney was the steward out here
yes.
for a number of years. And all of these people were here for lengthy periods of time. So they became part of the landscape.
And they added an awful lot to this program.
That's true. No question. But you have changes now out here that are different from the way it used to be.
Well, that's right.
And but it's still, basically the country club is still the way it was 100 years ago.
Well, you know, the other day when I was trying to make these arrangements, I bumped into, I think he was the greenskeeper, and I happened to ask him, hey, what happened to the stone wall? You remember the stone wall we used to sit on? Oh, he said, that disappeared about 8 years ago. And we used to sit there and hope that we got a job that day.
Some of the members, after that happened, were a little regretful because they would have liked to have preserved a little bit of it with a plaque.
Yes.
And I think that would have been a great idea, but it was done and we couldn't get the material to do it.
Well, the country club has changed over the years. Of course, what was it, 1924 when the original clubhouse burned down, and then they built the present, and they just spent tons of money to renovate and remodel and new buildings and whatever. It's come a long way.
They've done a good job.
And yet it's still the country club of New Bedford.
No question.
No question. Okay, tell me, when did the Fourball start? Can you?
Fourball started in 1931. It had a prior history in that for 4 years prior to the 1931 Fourball, they had a medal play tournament from 27 to 27, 28, 29, and 30. And there would be 100 people that would come and play in the medal play. Seth Bessie was a winner 1 year. Dave Whiteside was another member from the country club who was a great golfer and participated in that tournament. But the first August Fourball officially went into the books in 1931.
Well, Dave Whiteside also was the Massachusetts amateur champion.
In 1937.
1937, yes.
And because of that, the members voted to give him a life membership because of that. And no one else from the country club has ever won the state amateur championship.
I remember that when we did the history of Dartmouth, that we also honored David Whiteside.
Right.
And now he won the Fourball, and also he won with his son, didn't he?
He won with his son, but he was also a three-time winner of the August Fourball.
Now, that I understand is the only three-time winners.
There was only one three-time winning team.
Okay.
The Sullivans.
Yes.
Jim Sullivan and his partner from Boston, whose name is Jim Sullivan.
Jim Sullivan, yes.
There are also 4 people who won 3 August Fourballs. Joel Gonzalez, but with different partners.
Okay.
Dave Whiteside, the Sullivans, and I'm not sure who the third one was. We had
three-peat.
one three-peat. That was the Sullivans.
The same teams.
Right.
Then we had, how many? 6 repeats, I think?
We had, yes we did.
And I have to mention the fact that you were one of those repeats with Junior Ferro.
We won in 75 and repeated in 76. We were the first team to repeat in 44 years, I believe.
Wow.
The initial back-to-back winners were Seth Bessie and Ed Corner. They did it in 37 and 38. Ray Gifford and his partner Guy Newton, who repeated in 85 and 86. And then we also had David Camara and Jim Carney, who won in 1980 and 81. So you have 4 teams that repeated in the August Fourball. And you have 1 team that won 3 times, but they did not repeat on a back-to-back year.
How about the Coleman brothers?
The Coleman brothers were back-to-back, one year and got beat in the finals in another year.
Okay. What I'd like to say, though, and I'm laughing because we really wanted to do this interview outside, and I hope you overlook the fact that our papers are flying around, and maybe we ought to go inside and finish this up. What do you think?
I think as long as the people get a perspective of where we're sitting and what a beautiful site we've got here.
And if you notice, behind us is the 18th green, so that's going to be active.
Which has a lot of history in the August Fourball.
Oh, I'm sure. I bet you a lot of matches have been
that's true.
Decided on
but
the
this
18th.
was always a crowded place. And when we get into downstairs in the clubhouse, I think it'd be a good idea if we kind of reviewed the August Fourball in terms of 25-year segments.
That's fine.
So we would find out how different things happened in the first 25 as opposed to the second 25 as opposed to the third and current years of the
Good
Fourball.
idea. Let's
it
cut
would really work out well.
Let's cut it off here and go inside where it will be a little bit more comfortable. The wind is kind of blowing, and let's do that. Okay?
That's fine.
Well, we're in a little calmer atmosphere here. We came inside because the wind was blowing pretty good out there, and
I could have stayed out there, Charlie. I know
I
you had to get in.
Well, you know, you're a little younger than me, so you could have handled it, you know. But the book that you've written, and we showed, let's just the book that you've written, and I know you didn't do it alone. And I understand. Give me an idea of, first of all, why did you write the book? And who? I'm sure there must have been someone, and I know that you, and tell me if I'm wrong, that you used to write for the Standard Times and you used to write the Fourballs, right?
I didn't do Fourball. Yeah, I did a couple. But when I was in high school, I used to do a lot of writing for the Standard Times, covering other high school games, football.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Because I didn't play football.
You didn't play football.
So I enjoyed writing. I did it for several years.
Okay.
But the idea of the August Fourball history was something that I had been thinking about for a long time. I joined New Bedford in 1957.
Okay.
And
that was, let me just interject here, that was when you got out of the service?
I got out of service in 1957.
1957, right. Okay.
Yeah. So I joined in 57, and there were a lot of friends of mine who happened to join because it was a pretty good deal at that time, and it was a good golf course. And over time, I'd meet a lot of people who had joined with me who, prior to that, had caddied and were caddies, and we'd go out to play on Mondays and play until you lose all the golf balls that you found during the week.
Yes.
But over time, I started playing in the August Fourball. Matter of fact, my first year was 57, and I played with Stan Grabiak. Who used to be the
athletic director?
No, he was the principal of Fairhaven High School for a number of years.
Yes.
But he was a good athlete, played at New Bedford High School. So it was in the back of my mind, and one day the country club decided that they wanted to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the inception of the club. From 1902 to 2002. So they asked members if they wanted to contribute to whatever type of activity they were going to do. Kenny Marshall, who was a member at that time, was in charge of getting a thing together. And I spoke to him about history of the August Fourball. I had done some research. So he suggested that we get together, and we did get together. He looked at it, and he really felt that it was perhaps a little more of an undertaking that they were planning for the 2002 celebration.
Right.
So he suggested, why don't you do it as a separate item? So I thought about it, and looking down the road, we saw that 2005 would be the 75th anniversary. And this was probably 2001 that we were doing the looking. And we decided that the best thing to do would be to write a history of the August Fourball and have it ready for 2005.
Okay.
So that's what we did. And we did a lot of research on it.
Well, I'm sure you did. And in the front of the book, it does say something about, you mentioned the people that helped you. But I kind of, when I talked to you last, I know your granddaughter helped you.
Ashley Cucci.
Ashley, no, Cucci. That's a golfing name. And then, of course, Nancy, your wife, had helped you immensely.
Immensely.
And you showed me 1 year of, and the thing was, from what I gather, he went to the Standard Times, or whoever did the research, and for every year of the Fourball, they got all the writings of the Fourball, prints, and
we went to the files where they had microfilm, and we would take the first week in August, because that's when the August Fourball was contested. And we would photocopy every single newspaper account from the Sunday prior to the Fourball until the Monday following the Fourball. And you would get a perspective from as to what occurred each day, because at that time, particularly in the beginning, the Standard Times was the only act in town. Yes. And that's where all the news was given, either the Standard Times or with radio. And so we ended up with a thick folder, 75 of them.
For each year, you had a folder.
We
and
had a
so
folder.
You were telling me at your home that you have 75 years of history, and you condensed that history into this book.
That is
that
correct.
Right? Okay.
That is correct.
All right.
There were a couple of other people that you didn't mention. I just want to quickly mention that were really helpful to me.
Okay.
Was Tony Vieira, that you had mentioned before,
Yes.
who was the primary caddy master here at the country club. A couple of years he has served as an assistant pro, and even one year I think ran the pro shop when they were looking for a pro. And the other one was Buddy Thomas at the Standard Times.
Yes.
We needed a lot of pictures. Buddy came up with some a great amount of pictures, was very helpful to me, and that kind of completed the service and research
Right. Well,
activities.
Carrollton Heights. You can always remember Carrollton Heights because they put out some outstanding golfers.
No question.
You know, Spike Graham here on Slocum Road.
Yeah.
Ralph Jenkins and Earl Chase, Kurt Chase, Dick Woodcock, Ralph Woodcock. I mean, we can go on and on and on.
Would you put Terry McCormick in
and
that
Terry
neighborhood?
McCormick, yes. I'm sorry, I missed Terry.
Bobby Macon?
Bob Macon, yep. He's still a member here at the club.
Yeah.
In fact, didn't he go to school with you?
Yes, he did.
You
At Holy Family.
He and his sister Patsy.
Right.
Although I think there were 3 years. You graduated for Pat graduated.
Pat was
first.
ahead of us.
Pat, you
She
and then
became
Tom,
the
right?
director of
But
special education.
But all these
in Fourball.
golfers around here, they all caddied at the country club,
No
and of
question.
course they all played at Pascomanset. And it's a great history area.
No question.
Another one I pops up is Frank Finney.
Frank Finney is a two-time winner.
Okay.
We're a two-time winner with Dr. Joe Arminio from New York.
He came
part
down
of
here
the
every
New
year.
York.
He played many of them.
Arminio.
Yes.
Arminio did, but 2 years he and Frank Finney were back-to-back winners. I think that they were 1950 and 1952.
52.
I believe he won the club championship in one of the years that he won the August Fourball.
Fourball, right.
Because
No,
he called that a good year.
I know he was club champion over at Pascomanset because
Right.
he's up on the board.
Right.
Incidentally, we have a room at the town hall that if you want to see a lot of history, stop in. I
Good.
think you'll appreciate it.
I'd like to.
Okay. Well, let's see. Dave Whiteside and Malcolm Whiteside, both. That's father-son team.
Father-son team, and
Won in '34.
yep, they won in 1934. It was Dave's second win. He had won the year before, I believe, with Josh Weeks, and I think he got to a point where he won a third August Fourball. There were two major persons in the early days of the August Fourball who were local. Seth Bessie Jr. and Dave Whiteside. Both were great golfers, were Fourball winners in some year or other, and dominated the local scene until the 1940s when people like Jerry LaFlamme and others began to have an impact on the August Fourball. And there were local people during that time who I think I refer to some locals who happened to be able to win the August Fourball during the 40s and 50s. And during that time, you began to see the influence of people in the greater New Bedford area who were not only participating in the August Fourball, but turning out in droves to watch the Fourball during a time when it was either reading the newspaper or listening to the radio, and a lot of people would see the newspaper and say, gee, I want to go out and see what the Fourball is about.
That's right.
And that's what happened. So you could have 1,000 people out here on a final.
Right. As I can remember, there was always a good crowd. But you know, there's a brother team that I overlooked, and I just happened to flip over. We knew them as Buster and Stan Brown.
Yep.
Yep. Milt and Stanley.
Yep.
They were two brothers, two good golfers from the area.
Excellent golfers.
They both, I believe, played for Dartmouth High School and probably was on some of the high school championship teams.
They had a couple of significant upsets during the course of the time they played.
I figured you
in the August Fourball.
Okay. I figured you'd pick up
but
on
they
that.
But they never made the finals.
Really? Yeah.
And and they were good golfers. If you and I sat down and made a list of the good golfers who never won the August Fourball, it would be a long list.
Well, yes, that's usually the case. When I did research for Pascomanset, there were a lot of good golfers out there that never made the club champion.
That's correct.
They just never got to it, for some reason or other.
You got to be lucky.
Well, that's it. Yes, I'd much rather be lucky than good.
I maintain you have to be lucky.
Leadership at the country club. You know, talk about. I made reference to Michael Grady and John Gilholm was.
Right.
You know, they were here for years.
They were a long time. John Gilholm was the pro here for a long, long time.
Well, it was in the 40s. I mean, what I say is it was 42 years or something like that.
Yeah, and Michael Grady arrived in the 1930s and stayed here as the greenskeeper until he died.
Until he passed away, and he was still greenskeeper here
right.
at the time. And they were very instrumental in redesigning with
Donald Ross.
And redesigning the course after it came from the West End.
Right.
You know, they called it the Hawthorne Country Club.
Right.
That I covered in another phase.
Yeah, in that.
Right. Willie Park also, he helped in that.
We have a section there about the people who were involved in the development of the country club in New Bedford.
Yes, you do. And also,
we had a lot about Donald Ross. There were 9 holes here when Donald Ross came in, and Donald Ross did the renovations, and the country club is listed as one of the courses that his company provided service to. I was unable to document that Donald Ross was actually on the golf course at the country club, but he had people who went out into the field representing him,
yes.
And helped the staff locally. He brought in his own team, and they would do all the work. Then the representative would go back and report to him as to what happened.
Well,
and that's what happened with New Bedford.
Didn't he, just recently, within the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 years, they redesigned all the sand traps according to Donald Ross design?
Yes, and they...
You know, as Dick LaGrasse described it to me, was a very shallow sand type sand trap.
Yeah. I don't go in them, so...
Yeah, well, I know.
But they also, maybe 15 years ago, redid a lot of the entrances into the green, because Ross was a great believer in pitch and run.
Pitch and run.
As opposed to hitting the ball into a tee and it stopping. So they made the course quicker, faster. And they've been able to maintain that quickness to this day now. I think the course right now reflects what Donald Ross wanted to be able to do.
Right, and Paul Barrett had, I think,
Paul had
he had
a significant
impact here
right.
over the years. He'd been here, what, 7 or 8 years or something like that? Or was it longer than that?
More than that.
More than that.
I think so.
I wanted to get Paul Barrett in there because, well, here, Paul Barrett, Green Superintendent, 1974 to 1989, so this 15 years.
Yeah.
So I know he had a...
The current program that we have here at the country club is as good as it gets. And a lot of people are very happy to be playing the course because it is in such superior condition. So
Okay.
works out very well. I did a section on the local golfers because they did have a little bit of a run and I think that it started with
Like Terry McCormick and Stan Nowak. They
Right.
won, and
61.
that's a local team.
61. Tommy Canberra,
That name's somewhat rings a bell, yes.
yeah.
Another one, too, was Dean Cassell.
Dean Cassell played with Clark Fisher, and I'm not sure what year they won, but they finally did win after getting beat a couple of years.
Clark Fisher, here we go,
In the
63.
final. They won in 1963,
63.
and Dean at that time was working for the Titleist Company.
Titleist Company.
Left the Titleist Company, and I believe, I forgot, I mentioned the company.
I think he went to Wilson, didn't he? Dunlop.
He went to Dunlop, but he went to several other companies after that, I believe. He was very much involved in the golf ball industry, but he was very frustrated in not being able to win the August Fourball because he played frequently in the August Fourball,
That was
and he finally made it.
that was a feeling that a lot of fellas had, right?
Well, you look
They
at,
play it so many years.
I'm sure that Dean was taking a ribbing from a lot of the golfing people that he worked with.
That's right.
Geez,
yes,
you can't even win your club championship.
I can imagine.
But he was a good golfer.
Yes, he was. Let's get to the club professionals. We had John Gilholm for many, many years, and then he was succeeded by his son John.
John, yeah. And after John, and John was not here for that
No, he
many
wasn't.
years,
No.
but he left here and went to the Emerald Golf Course in Dartmouth, I believe.
No, but between that, he went to. John and I were good friends. In fact, the only lesson I ever took was with John Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah. He went to Pocasset in Rhode Island for a while.
Okay. All right.
And then he did. He did
Then
his
he
final.
returned to Dartmouth.
His final years were at Emerald Park.
Yeah.
Then
He was a
then
nice man.
Yes, he was.
Now, after him was Patty LeClaire.
Patty, and then he was replaced by Walt Kenyon,
Yeah.
and then Dick LaGrasse, and those were all pretty good professionals.
That's true.
They did a great job here. You know, we were talking about local golfers, and one of them that in fact, they were winners. I'm not sure exactly what year they were, but of course the Bob Giusti, Peter Giusti team, and then we had Fred Parrington and Mark Birmingham. Now they lived very close. I think Parrington lived on Slocum Road, and Mark Birmingham lived just one street over from Route 6. And they were both winners. And I wanted to mention, again, that they were local golfers, and we do have a lot of good local golfers. Bill, I know you wanted to get back into the stream of the Fourball.
Well, I think one of the things that becomes obvious as you talk about the Fourball and it was accidental as it occurred. But when you're looking through the book, you really begin to understand that there are maybe 3 25-year segments because of population growth and changes and whatever else. You also find out that every Fourball has its own story. It's got its own conclusion, it's got its own environment, and there is something unique in each of the Fourball activities that occur. And I think that gives you something within the framework of the book which makes it unique in that you've always got something different happening. And then there are certain parts of the book where we include Fourball trivia. And as you were going through some of the trivia, you found that your Italian restaurant was used in 1938.
Well, you know, when the book first came out, Mark remarked that there was a line in the book that said, and if I can quote it, if I can find it, yes, here it is. It says, there was a pre-Tony dinner at the Spaghetti House in 1945. 50 people attended the event. I don't remember that. Of course, in 1945, I mean, I was only a young kid, and Dad had the restaurant. And
now, where was the restaurant?
Well, the restaurant was right across the street on Slocum Road, across from Bishop Stang.
So the members
just wandered over, I guess.
Probably, yeah.
You know, but another thing too, as I went through the book, I found a picture of a barbecue pit.
Yeah.
And I said, gee, you know, that's strange being in this book. I was wondering why, but it gave me an in. Back in, it must have been either late 30s or early 40s, my dad was associated with the country club here.
Mm-hmm.
And he was approached by, you know, the powers to be that they wanted to do something on the idea of a barbecue, and they asked my father if he actually knew how to run a barbecue. And my father said, no, not really. But he said, I'll find out. And so one of his brothers was a chef in Rhode Island at one of the country clubs, and they got together and they talked about it. And that's how the barbecue started. They used to build this pit every year. They'd tear it down and they'd build it up every year. That's when they cooked beef, real beef.
Over the grill outside.
Outside. And I remember because I worked, Wilfred Brimley was a member of the country club at the time.
And he owned the meat company.
And he owned the meat company. And out of high school, I worked for Mr. Brimley.
Yeah.
And he used to see a nice side of beef come in, and he'd cut it up, and he'd stick it over into the corner, into the freezer unit, and they'd accumulate all these big chunks of beef, and they accumulated it for the barbecue. But Dad had the insight in starting the barbecue, and I guess it's still running, but not.
No, it's a little different now. Well, that's what I say. I think there's something for everybody if you keep turning the pages.
Well, as you turn the pages, yes, you do. That's just what I'm doing, and looking at some of the fellas that I've known and played golf with. Looks like we're doing pretty good. There's a lot of Fourball trivia in this book. And there again, I come across a Junie Farrow and a Dr. Bill Quinlan picture.
We made a listing of some of the records in the August Fourball. There are not a lot of the records listed, but we felt that if people are going to win 2 years in a row, that's significant. If they're going to win twice, that's important. If you win 3 times, which the Sullivans did once, that's very significant. And I think that there are also teams that have won consecutively over a period of time. And I think the Sullivan's, no, Seth Bessie and Ed Connor, I think, won 17 matches in a row in the August Fourball over a 3-year period.
Wow.
In the championship division.
Yeah.
The only other team that had a record like that, because it was consecutive years, was my partner, Junie Farrell, and myself. We happened to win 21 matches in a row, but not always in the championship division. But Seth Bessie and his partner, Ed Connor, were the primary team to have consecutive wins in the championship division.
Wow. You know,
17.
One of the oddities that I heard just the other day was one of my golfing buddies said that he had played in the Fourball, but he had signed up for the satellite division, and when he showed up on that day he was supposed to play, he was told that he, Arthur Hardy, and George Harkins were to play in the Fourball itself.
I remember being out there during that tournament.
And he he said, you know, he said, even though we hadn't signed up for it, we made the semifinals, and I thought that was pretty
That's
good.
significant.
I just had to stick that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of a thing in there about individuals who showed up to play in the tournament and their partner got sick. So they grabbed another guy, and I think 3 times that team won.
That team won.
Yeah.
Well, it happens. It happens. And Fourball's a kind of, well, they're kind of special, really. You look forward to it.
You do.
And you give it your best. Either you win or you lose. But I think just the fact that you can play in them, and you're playing with friends most of the time, I think that's great. That's great.
Talking about that, you see changes now in the way that people treat the August Fourball. I'll get back to the good times before, but now guys show up, play in the Fourball, got to get home, got family obligations that are more pronounced in this day and age. And that's gradually increased over time. Back when they first started, during the August Fourball, number one, for the first 20 or 30 years, the Fourball was contested on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 36 holes a day as long as you kept winning. The finals and semifinals would be on Sunday. So if you won the tournament, you had to play 72 holes 3 days in a row with no caddy. Or no cart, I mean.
No cart.
You had a caddy.
You had a caddy, but no cart.
You would walk,
yes, back
but no
then.
cart.
Sure.
And these guys were all friends with each other from previous Fourballs, and they would show up on Thursday night or Wednesday night. This place would be mobbed during Wednesday and Thursday, parties going on, people singing, barbershop quartets, and some of the guys were so scared that they were going to miss their tee time on Friday morning that they slept on the floor. And
Yeah.
were woken up to tell them that it's time to tee off. And after 2 rounds on Friday, they'd be back at it on Friday night.
Yes. Well, times have changed.
Yeah.
You know, we did pretty good this morning.
I think we had a good time.
Yeah. I hope everybody enjoys what we've done. We've taken the time to do it. There's been a lot of research. I know I did research in the book to be able to do this morning. I know in looking at your notes, you've done a lot. So actually, Bill Quinlan, author, writer, teacher, director of Well, I'm saying this because you didn't say it. I know that you retired.
Special
in
education.
Special education.
That's
and today,
it's an area dear to my heart.
absolutely, my son has a special education. Because he has a master's degree in special education. But today, you know, I want to conclude with this, is today they're having a tournament here to benefit the autistic children, Charlie's children.
Yeah.
And that was great that we could pick this day to do this.
That's true.
Bill Quinlan, thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
I thank you for all. I'd like to thank the Dartmouth Wanderers for allowing me to do this program. And special thanks to Joe Cardoni. Is that how they say it?
Cardoni, yeah.
Cardoni, who is the head professional.
Great guy.
Yes, and he took time to find a place for us so that we could do this interview. So thank you again. I hope you enjoy it. The book that Bill Quinlan wrote is available, and we'll give you that information on the end of the program. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, Bill, thank you very much. And you be careful when you go to Florida.
I will.
Okay, thank you.